Garlic. For us humans, it's a total rock star in the kitchen and a champion for our health. But when it comes to our dogs, you hear these whispers that it's actually dangerous. So what's the real story here? Is garlic a hidden health food for our furry friends, or is it a serious menace? Well, let's get to the bottom of it.
And yeah, for us, the science is a slam dunk. Just look at this quote from a recent review in 2023. It basically says garlic's anti-cancer powers are one of its most well-researched benefits. It's a legit superfood. But, and this is a huge but, that's for us.
And this is where things get really weird, right? On one hand, for humans, it's this celebrated superfood. But for dogs, it's labeled a suspected toxin that can cause some really nasty blood disorders. How can the same plant be a hero for one species and a villain for another, especially when they're living under the same roof? Let's dig in.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle that huge myth you've probably heard about garlic and fleas. Then, we're going to jump into a really important scientific study to see what actually happens inside a dog's body when they eat it. We'll even take a look at the damage on a microscopic level. And finally, we'll deliver the final verdict.
Okay, first things first. Let's talk about probably the most common reason people even consider giving garlic to their dogs. This is an idea that is all over the internet, and you hear it in dog parks. It's been floating around for decades.
You've heard this one, right? The big claim is that garlic works as this natural, chemical-free way to keep fleas away. The idea is that if you feed your dog a little bit of garlic, it makes their blood taste bad to fleas, and they'll just leave them alone. I mean, it sounds amazing, but does it actually hold up?
And the answer, according to all the scientific reviews, is a resounding no. It's just a myth. Despite how popular this home remedy is, there is zero credible scientific proof that it works. So when it comes to fleas, using garlic is all risk with absolutely no proven reward.
Okay, so if it doesn't fight off fleas, let's pivot to what the science says it does do to a dog's body. And for that, we need to look at a pretty groundbreaking study that really put this whole question under the microscope.
So let's travel back to the year 2000. Researchers published a study in the American Journal of Veterinary Research. They wanted to know, once and for all, if garlic could actually cause the type of blood damage that people suspected, a really serious condition called hemolytic anemia.
And the way they did it was actually pretty simple and elegant. They got 8 healthy dogs. For 7 days straight, they gave 4 of them a daily dose of garlic extract. The other 4 dogs, that was the control group, they just got plain old water. Then, for the next 30 days, they just watched. They took blood samples and monitored everyone super closely to see what, if anything, would change.
And here's what they found. For the dogs who ate the garlic, the red blood cell counts started to go down. The amount of hemoglobin, that's the super important protein that carries oxygen around the body, that dropped too. And then they saw these 2 very specific telltale signs of damage pop up in the blood cells, things called Heinz bodies and eccentrocytes. Don't worry, we'll get to what those are in just a sec. Now, it's really important to say none of the dogs got sick enough to be diagnosed with full-blown anemia during the study. But, and this is the key, the evidence of damage, it was undeniably there.
So I just threw out some pretty sciencey terms, right? Heinz bodies and eccentrocytes. What on earth does that even mean? To really get it, we need to zoom way in and look at what's happening to individual red blood cells.
It all comes down to this process, oxidative hemolysis. Okay, think of it like this. Every red blood cell has its own little antioxidant defense shield to protect it. But certain compounds inside garlic are like an invading army of oxidants, and they just completely overwhelm that shield. And when the defenses are down, the cell's outer wall and the hemoglobin inside get damaged, and the whole cell becomes fragile and can even burst.
And this is the first piece of evidence of that attack. When the hemoglobin gets damaged by oxidation, it clumps together into these little blobs called Heinz bodies. They stick to the inside of the red blood cell, and it's basically like putting a giant, "I'm broken, please destroy me" sign on the cell. The dog's immune system sees these Heinz bodies and knows that cell is compromised and needs to be taken out of circulation.
And here's the other visual clue that something is wrong. An eccentrocyte is a red blood cell where all that damaged, clumpy hemoglobin has literally been shoved over to one side of the cell. You can see how that completely warps its normal round shape. This makes the cell stiff, terrible at carrying oxygen, and way more likely to just fall apart. It's a perfect picture of a cell that's failing.
Okay, so we know how the damage is happening, this oxidative hemolysis, but what exactly in the garlic is the culprit? It's not the whole plant, it's a few specific chemicals hiding inside.
It turns out a follow-up study was able to point the finger at the exact villains.
They're a group of organosulfur compounds with these really long, complicated names. You don't have to remember them. Just know that these are the little molecules that do the dirty work of oxidizing and damaging a dog's red blood cells. And here's the crazy irony. These are some of the very same compounds that give garlic its health benefits for us humans. What's good for us is literally toxic for them.
All right, we've busted the myths, we've looked at the science, now it's time to bring it all together. What does this all mean for you, for me, for anyone who owns a dog? What's the final practical takeaway?
And the number one takeaway is this: the risk is absolutely real. Now, it's not like one tiny bit of garlic will instantly make your dog sick. It's dose dependent. That means a single large amount can cause problems, but, and this is so important, so can small amounts fed over and over again, because the damage can actually build up over time.
And the science even gives us a number to help us understand the threat. We know that significant toxic effects have been seen when dogs eat between 15 and 30 grams of garlic or onion for every kilogram of their body weight. So, for a medium-sized 22-pound dog, that's about 150 grams of garlic. That's a decent amount, sure, but remember what we just said. The real danger can also be much smaller amounts, causing that slow, cumulative damage over time.
So if this is happening inside a dog, what would you actually see? Well, it all goes back to those damaged red blood cells not being able to carry oxygen. That's why you'll see weakness and lethargy. You might notice their gums look pale. Their body tries to make up for the lack of oxygen by breathing faster, and their heart rate goes up. And if you ever see red or brown urine, that is a huge red flag. That's actually hemoglobin from all those ruptured blood cells spilling into the urine.
Look, you don't have to take my word for it. Let's just go back to the final, crystal-clear conclusion from the researchers who actually did that 2000 study. They didn't beat around the bush. They said, because garlic has the power to damage red blood cells and hemoglobin, foods containing garlic should not be fed to dogs, period. It's about as direct a warning as you can get.
So, we've cracked the case of the conflicted clove. But this whole thing really opens up a much bigger, more important question, doesn't it? Garlic is just one example. What other foods that we think of as perfectly healthy for us, things like grapes or onions or anything with the sweetener xylitol, could be hiding a serious danger for our pets? It's a powerful reminder to always stay curious, and more importantly, to always be cautious.